Hey there, wanted to go over my upgrade on my Swft Zip here. It's been a journey. So far the upgrades, you can see it's not a stock Swft Zip, and this is the same thing as the Hurley Swell, or Mini Swell, I guess it is. Same exact damn bike. Reason I bought this one, you're paying at least $800, $900 more for the Hurley. And the only real difference in the thing is the damn tan seat cover and the Hurley logo. I could skip that for $800-900, right? And so far the upgrades have been, we added a 20 amp hour battery underneath the seat, just one of the blue cube ones from Amazon, and wired that in. And so we have 30 amp hours total at 48 volts. The Swft Zip, the Swft, they're really tight on their specs. It's really hard. I had to search through a lot of threads, and now that they've had enough sold and enough guys that are far more technical with this than me that have broken the entire motor apart, we kind of know what it is now. You're at a 500 nominal with 750 peak is what we do believe that this is, from what I've been able to gather. Also, another interesting fact, the controller from the factory is, depending on what you read, anywhere from 11 to 16 amps. I'm going to say that from, and you'll see in a minute here why I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it was a 16 amp controller, which really chokes it down considering the specs on this wheel. We do believe from the numbers that I heard that it can take up to 30 something amps of juice. So regardless, it can take a lot more than the 16 that this controller's throwing at it, right? So that's kind of the upgrades. Other than that, the seat, we went to Joann Fabrics. We made this ourselves. I installed some 2-inch seat cushion, got the flame fabric upholstery stapler, stretched her tight and stapled her in, under $50 right there. And we have replaced the headlight. The one came from Swft. They wired the wire too short and it pulled free shortly afterwards. The tail light has died now. We are 2,100 miles into this bike so far. So enough on the kind of that stuff. What I wanted to go over was the controller upgrade. I knew it was choked. I really hated the fact that this has one of those 2-second pedal delays that's on it. The new controller would eliminate that so I could get an instant start, right? Instead of having to wait. And I pull a dog trailer now, fully loaded down, so that 2 seconds, that can be brutal if you're going uphill, right? Could use a little bit of help there. So that was something functional that we needed. And you can see we added the trailer stub there for the dog trailer. But we went ahead and upgraded the controller. And I'll post as best as I can, or leave some comments in the video section. I hold them for review, but I will respond. We went with, I want to say it was $76, including the display for the controller. And it was one I found off of watching another guy's video who had a Hurley Mini Swell and did the same upgrade. It is, right now it's just in. I mean, this is the first ride we've had on this new controller, so we're kind of figuring out where we're going to put it. For right now, right over that hump, it fits perfectly. What this is a 48 volt, 22 amp controller. And it's got all the light features, cruise control, all that. You can go on Amazon and see which ones they are. And we wired it in. The wiring in, I'm going to do another complete video on what to expect. Maybe a part 2, I guess. I mean, fully expect if you do this, you can do this. The directions are not very good on the little schematic they send you, but they're functional enough. The main thing was the hall sensor and figuring out that I left the brown wire. I would leave the brown wire out. Anybody who's worked on these, you have 5 wires coming up from your motor that are your hall sensor wires, right? Well, some bike companies put a 6th in, whatever, for a thermal protection. We were going to leave that out because coming from this controller, there was no spot for that wire. So I'm sitting there doing the install going, okay, I got an extra wire. That is never, ever, ever a good thing, right? To have an extra wire on an install. So we left it. There was an Asian guy that was, you'll see him, he's all over YouTube. He's really, really technical with it, and he explained the hall sensors. I'm going to try to post links to some of these, but needless to say, we did a lot of research a lot of schematics, a lot of things before we did this upgrade. And this is kind of an upgraded bike on the go. You know, we're kind of hacking and going and figuring out what we want our final design to be. One of the nice things is where the display is at on the Swft here. We were able to take it and get rid of this hole. It cleans the bars up immensely. I mean, it gives you that cool BMX look to it, right? A little bit cleaner from the front. And we're still figuring out. We got these stock wraps. I'm sure there are guys who are far more experienced with, you know, what little detail products are out there. I'm still learning on the go. I just have some basic electrical mechanical knowledge, right? We're still figuring out how we want to tie these in, but it cleans it up a bit. As you can see, we put a Punisher sticker on the front there to replace the Swft emblem. Kind of the Punisher themed bike is what we're going for here. So we're still going to, you know, work on where we want all the wires and all that, but even right now, it just cleans it up and gives it that just wicked look to it, right? All blacked out. So we're happy so far. If you're doing this upgrade thinking that you're going to double your power, let's say you figure you have the 11 amp controller, you know, and you're going to a 22, that's got to be double the power. It doesn't work that way. I got excited too, and then I remembered some electrical knowledge. I'm like, calm yourself down. And kind of reined it back in a little bit. What was I truly after? What I was truly after with this upgrade is eliminating that 2-second delay and eliminating the throttle governor, to be quite honest with you. That just pissed me off because, I mean, I'd pedal up to 20 and I'm capable of a little bit more, but the bike won't let me, you know? Or, you know, throttle, there's nothing more aggravating than feeling another half of that throttle and it just dies and you're stuck hovering on your digital display. It's an irritation. I'm one of those people, I don't like limits, right? So we wanted to get rid of that. And also I wanted a little bit cleaner look. And if I do upgrade to a bigger hub motor in the back, which I probably will, I'll go with a 750 to 1000 peak, somewhere in there. This controller should be able to handle that pretty easily. So that'll give us up to that next upgrade. So far we're really, really happy. The fastest that I've gotten, and it's hard to explain, I still think we're limited a little bit. I've gone into the SW and redone some of the codes, the P codes and all that stuff, which is that's an advantage to this product. It may be one of the cheaper ones, but they sold millions of these things, right? So there's a ton of information on how to program them. It's not hard to find these online. It's an SW900 or an S900, I think is what mine is. But, yeah, if you go on Amazon and look them up. But so far, I didn't figure I was going to double my speed or anything. So far, it's instant power delivery, and it's instant. There's a lot more oomph, a lot more torque behind it, right? Now, the top speed so far, I got all excited because when you first turn on the display, it's in kilometers an hour, and sure as hell, I couldn't wait to go take a damn test ride. So I had to go take a test ride, right? And of course that gets you always excited. Look at this, 60. No, it's not. It's about, you know, less than half that. So, so far, we've seen a solid 29 miles an hour out of this thing. Solid. I mean, it'll sustain that, but it's weird. It gets up to that speed, it's accelerating, and then it just dies off right there. So that means to tell me that there's a limiting factor other than just the controller, if you understand the electrics and all that. And I'm sure it has to do with some wiring, other things too that you could do. You could probably get more out of this if you're a professional, you know, e-bike builder. You know, you could probably get in there 2-3 miles an hour. I'm going to say that the upward potential of this bike is at about 30 miles an hour with this upgrade. Maybe you're thinking, oh, that's not a big deal. It's under $100 in a couple hours worth of time. So for under $100 in a couple hours worth of time, you can add a minimum of let's just say 6 to 9 miles an hour top end speed that it'll sustain for you on your Swft Zip. And that is a massive difference. And so far, efficiency-wise, I'm not knowing if I trust this battery gauge or not, right? I'm just really not sure if I'm going to trust that or not. But I have my Zeopoxa cycling app, and from previously running this 20 amp hour battery, we have 2,000 miles on this bike, and about 1,500 of that was with this big battery. So we know about what it should push for us. I'll be curious, because one of the differences is it doesn't take hardly any throttle with this particular controller to maintain your cruising speed once you get there. So what I'm feeling, just having ridden this, is it's going to be a lot more efficient. So we're very happy with this. So for under $100, including the electrical tape and all that, you're going to need a soldering iron. We'll do a more in-depth video on what it takes to do this, but I would so highly recommend this upgrade. It just frees the bike, and it feels so much better, and it looks better too. Any questions, please. I like to respond to them. I don't mind the interaction, just be polite, And I do hold the comments for review, but then I'll publish them and all that, and I try to respond. So if you have any helpful hints, I'm always looking to learn. Anything constructive, please leave it. Safe trails from Cushman.